The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday week. Slightly later in the week because obviously we had a midweek game, which seems to be the par for the course over the next 4 or 5 weeks because we've got all these fixtures we need to play, and we've seemed to have caught up the rest of the league a little bit. We're just outside the playoffs and all the rest of it, and we are going to make sense of that this evening. I've got 5 of us on tonight. We've got Vic, Ben, Stevie, and Simon. So we've got 2 games to get through tonight, folks. First one being Burton. Simon, I assume you can't remember much of the Burton game.
Yeah, I didn't realise how much I'd not remembered it until I went to the match on Tuesday, and Ethan said, "Oh," and I said, as I listened to the team selection in the car, "Oh, he's playing Hunt. He didn't play on Saturday," and Ethan went, "Yeah, he did," and I was like, "Did he? No, he didn't." And we had this argument in the car. I was adamant he hadn't played, and he did, didn't he?
I must admit, my venue's closed for a refurb at the minute, so my Saturdays are spent being pissed like normal people because normally they're like my busiest day of the week. But Stevie, I mean, decent amount of shots, decent result, did what we needed to, and that was our 3rd win on the bounce at this point. So what did you think?
Yeah, good. Really pleased with the result. Really pleased with the performance. I think we talked about needing a reaction and how big the game was last week because we were talking about the games that we've got coming up.
Sorry, Stevie. My apologies, pal. There's something. You've got a bit of feedback on your end. You're crackling.
Sounds like an assault rifle.
I don't want any feedback on Stevie's end.
I thought it was one of those, I don't know, one of those pens where you keep flapping the top thing on it, or I don't know.
Have you got your snazzy microphone on, Steve?
Yeah. How's that?
It's just every time you speak, it goes.
It is.
I can't hear it, but then when you try to talk, it's.
Oh.
It's like you're purring in my ear.
Fucking hell. Right.
The irony of it not doing it now isn't wasted on me.
Yeah, that's really weird.
All right now.
No,
hang on. No, it's still fuzzy. Have you changed your audio settings on your Zoom?
There. What is it? It's weird.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like a doorstop.
Yes, it does.
Like what you can't play with.
Yeah. You haven't got that cat in your room, have you?
Have you got Topsy?
Topsy in your room.
1 minute.
Oh.
Doing all right. Audio.
Now it sounds like somebody's slapping somebody.
Yeah.
That could be me. I'm playing with the lateral flow test. Is that me?
No, it's.
No.
I think it's still Steve. I think it's still like. I don't know what's going on. Have you changed out, Steve?
This is the look he has on his face when he's presenting a class that he doesn't know anything about at school.
Sex education.
Yeah.
Oh, thinking it.
We can't hear it all now.
No.
Oh, Stevie, just go away.
You're
just ruining it for everyone else.
Have you unplugged it, Steve? Or have you turned it off and turned it on again? Have you?
Oh,
No.
How's that?
That's different.
Just
but
talk for a bit.
Can you hear me now?
Can?
yeah.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better. Yeah, we can understand what you're saying. So let's go again. Right. So
Sorry, guys.
it's all right, mate. It's all right. I can't remember what question I asked you. Okay. So Burton. So Steve, the third win on the bounce, another clean sheet. I mean, what did you reckon?
I thought I forgot what I was going to say.
Him out.
I tell you what, I need the step toe on some music playing over these first 10 minutes. Like,
Right.
all right, I'll tell you what, I'll just ask a different question. Let's go again. So, Steve, another win, 3rd one on the bounce, another clean sheet. Barry Bannon back to his best, and played really well. Do you reckon that the Wednesday fans have given him, because we'll get to that in a bit in terms of his celebration for the penalty in the next game. But he was back to being top banana, wasn't he?
I thought he was much better than he was the week before. I know we talked about him last week. I think the midfield three itself, I think it looks settled already, doesn't it? Byers coming in has offered that balance with Bannon. I think obviously we can wax lyrical all night about Luongo. He's an absolute diamond in this league, and I think the three of them over the last couple of games, Burton first, and particularly against a very good Wigan side that I think we made look very ordinary. I know we're talking Burton, they're sort of getting together now and really looking the part, and I'm excited about what we're seeing at the minute. I thought Bannon was excellent on Saturday. I thought it was good again Tuesday night. It's a good job Ashing on tonight. But, to be honest with you, I've got no complaints at all. I thought he did bits. The first goal came from him and Mendes Lang doing a little bit. It was nice to see a sort of a worked corner rather than deriding him for the crosses that people don't get on the end on. We've done a little bit of sort of an intricate sort of 1-2 and managed to get the ball in the box, albeit that Mendes Lang did it, but Bannon was there, and obviously that goes to the point that he's had a bit of an influence on the game because he was there and thereabouts for the first goal, and then the second goal as well. Obviously it was his shot. We can talk about whether or not it was going wide or not, but we've scored 2 goals. Bannon was involved in both, and that celebration for the second goal goes to show how much he's invested in the club.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it, whether the players listen to stuff like this and whether they get the general consensus and the opinions and stuff like that. We all know that,
Cameron Dawson does, doesn't he?
Cameron Dawson, not a fan of mine. Now, Ben, we had. Would you say that Mendes Lang was playing up front in the formation we're playing, and he was playing behind Pato? We had a different strike force on that day, and it seemed to have paid off. I mean, what did you reckon?
Yeah, he's someone who's got the physical attributes to play up front, a bit like perhaps Antonio was when he was playing for a winger by trade, but someone who's got the speed, pace, bit of strength about him as well to play with the back to goal equally as well. I think that will be the partnership on Sunday, if I'm honest, Patterson and Mendes Lang, and I think that showed in him only giving Mendes Lang 20 minutes against Wigan, which we'll talk obviously more about the Wigan game, but Canberra probably going to, he wouldn't be in my top 2 out of the ones that are fit at the moment. So Mendes Lang for me can either play out wide or equally. We saw in the Wigan game equally as well up front.
Fair enough. I think you might be right. I think Patterson does do a job. I don't think he's in the best form of his life right now. I mean, Vic, we've got, but let's look at the other end of the pitch. Palmer back in the fold after the injury to Harley Dean. We've got a Jordan Story. He's there as well. He's having a good time. That was a bit of a lump. That was me singing Never Ending Story by Lamar from Kajagoogoo, but with Jordan Story in it. You know what I mean? That's what's happening. So Hutch, classy as ever at the back. I mean, after Harley Dean got injured, were you like me and concerned about us conceding goals, even though we just haven't?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. I trust Sam Hutchinson with my life, to be honest. Harley Dean, as soon as he said he's never had a muscle injury, he should have known that like someone was going to turn up at Midwood Road with a bloody chainsaw to his shins. It's just don't even say it. Just don't even joke it. Like, I live in Hillsborough and I will not make a joke about never being injured because I'm in the air. Like, I could breathe it in. Any moment now could just collapse in the middle of the road and like have torn my cruciate ligament. So yeah, it doesn't worry me at all. I think that the last couple of games have shown how solid that back four is. I do like Jordan Story. Is it Jordan Story? It is Jordan, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not going to sing the song, but I do like him. I liked Harley Dean. It was interesting. I said this to you guys the other night. It's interesting being part of Her Game 2, in case I've not mentioned it. # Her Game 2, hergame2.co.uk. Being in a group chat with fans of other football clubs. So obviously most of the group chats or family chats or whatever that I'm in are all Wednesday fans, because that's what you do, innit? But I spoke to, there's a Brentford fan in the group chat and a Birmingham fan. And I asked them about him, and they both kind of just laughed and said, you know, he's a nightmare, he's so inconsistent, blah, blah, blah. It's very much the Tom Lees situation that I'd had a few years ago with the Leeds fan. But I kind of challenged them both and said, who was your player of the season? And they both kind of spoke about his attitude and how, if anyone, Darren Moore's the right man to get him back on the straight and narrow, etc., etc. But also said he's never been injured, so at least you've got that going in your favour. So that went well. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I think we've shown that he's a nice to have. He's absolutely a nice to have, and I wouldn't, you know, kick him out of the squad. But yeah, I'm not bothered really. He can just get better. It's fine.
I mean, what it did, it saw the return of Liam Palmer back into the team. I mean, we know you and Ash got quite heavily refreshed on that Saturday. So, you know, can you remember much about Liam Palmer's performance?
Liam was Liam Palmer. I think he was really unlucky to get dropped when he did. And he's just fitted back in as Liam does and does his job well. I think I agree with Vic. I think at first we were all a little bit shocked when Harley Dean got injured 5 minutes into his second game at Wednesday. We were shocked, and then obviously not shocked in regards to not surprised. But the guys who've come in and everybody else has stood up to the plate, and we've also got Gibson's just coming back. We've got Iorfa on apparently running now and training. You know, we've got, hopefully for the run into the end of the season, players coming back into the squad who have been out for some time to give us that extra impetus. Now, I'm not somebody to wish injuries on people, but we talked a while ago about Fizzer's sort of role in the team and what his role actually is. And no, I didn't like to see him injured, but by him getting injured, the Byers has come in, and Byers has been a revelation, and he has really. We spoke about Luongo giving Bannon that extra ability to move around the pitch, and Byers has done it as well. And it was difficult on Saturday because the pitch and the weather was dreadful. The pitch was dreadful.
Is that why you put your beer jacket on so early?
It was, because it was so cold, and that was my excuse for leaning over all the time. It was the wind. It was nothing to do with the alcohol. But keeping the ball down and playing a decent game of football was really difficult. And the pitch was bloody awful. But then obviously moving on to Wednesday, I think, you know, you saw Byers come into it even more. And hopefully if he stays fit to the end of the season, he will stay in the squad, because they'd be him, Luongo, if he stays fit, and Bannon are your, you know, and Hutch are probably your first names on that team sheet at the moment. Absolutely.
I think George Byers has been really changed something that's in that midfield. And we've discussed at length on this show about Bannon. If he trusts you, he's great, and he feels like he doesn't have to do your job for you. And because he's got two players in top form next to him, it lets Barry Bannon do what Barry Bannon does. And we've seen that in the last two games.
Can I just say, I think we do George Byers a bit of a disservice, and I don't think we do it on purpose. But I think when we first signed him, he was as good as he is now. And I think we lost him, and we kind of forgot that.
I forgot he played for us. I swear to God.
It's not a case that he's come in and he's like this great saviour. It's like he would have been. I remember ages ago we were trying to do a graphic, weren't we, to put on social media about who our first 11 would be, etc., etc. And I remember thinking, like, I wanted George Byers, and then we said, oh, you couldn't have injured people and whatever. And I think we're doing him that disservice because he is that good. It was just the fact that he was out for so long. I think he's outstanding. He's an absolutely outstanding player. And I think him coming back, we say this every time, and we've said it every year for the last 20 years.
Well, you're going to say it, aren't you? We need a klaxon for it, don't we? Go on, say it.
It's a new player. It's like it's a new signing. It is. But it is though, isn't it? Because it's been that long, you've almost forgotten how good he is. And same with Luongo. I mean, Luongo, I couldn't have told you this time 4 weeks ago that he was as bloody good as he is.
I tell you what, if Ash was on now, he'd be going, I've been telling you all season. He'd be sat there now chewing his arm off. Now, there's one thing that's happened, Stevie, and I'm really interested for your take on it, because I was quite scathing when we discussed this last time about 4 weeks ago. Since I used the term "fuck him" when it came to Darren Moore, I feel that there is now some egg on my face. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, and in a good way. Like, Barry Bannon shut me the hell up because he stunk the joint out last week, and then now we're talking about him being one of the best players on the pitch over the last 2 games. But there's also an element of Darren Moore as well. Now, do you feel our turn in fortune is that we've signed really well in January, or something's clicked, or it's the return of Luongo and Byers coming back? I mean, where do you stand on it?
I think it's the long game, isn't it? I think for if you go back to the start of the season, I can remember saying I don't think we'll know what our best 11 is until October, November time. I did say that. We signed a hell of a lot of players, 13, 14 lads. We overhauled the squad. It was always going to take time to settle. And when he's made the choices that he's made, Darren Moore, I don't necessarily think he's been given the license that he needed to be given. We've talked about Byers. We've talked about Luongo coming back in. Controversially, we can talk about Corbinu. I think that's one of the biggest sort of decisions that he's made, or the sort of the thing that he's done that has probably divided people more than anybody over the last sort of 2 months. And then for it to happen at the at the very early stage of the transfer window, he's basically gone, this player that everybody thinks is the savior, he's going to be our player of the year, the lone love of 2022 is going to be Corbinu. And I'll call it, there were people in this group and there were people on this podcast that went, fuck Darren Moore, he don't know what he's doing, he don't know what he's talking about, blah, 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 blah. And those of you that are watching on YouTube now will see people that got their hands up. I was always very mindful of the fact that, I won't say that he always had my absolute faith, because I've had a wobble with it, but I thought we need to give him the guy a bit of time. And, for posterity, if you go back, I've said the same. The Corbinu decision was massive, absolutely huge. He's seen something. I don't know what he's seen or what he's decided, but he's clearly allowed a player that we thought was the most exciting player in the squad to go away and then go and sign for a competitor. And it almost feels like he knew what he had, and he knew that the better option would be, I'll get rid of Corbinu and I'll get Mendes-Lang. I've got Mendes-Lang, and I'll get a lone player in at the back, and I'll get another lone player in, and I'll look to strengthen up front. And if you look on paper at the business that he's done in January, and you look on paper at the business that he's done since, July, August time, when we started signing the players that we've signed, it actually isn't that bad,
I love that. It's not that bad. That's what I'm going to call the episode. Sheffield Wednesday. It's not that bad. It is.
It's interesting though that you've mentioned Corbinu, because I'd literally forgotten he existed up until then.
100%. But the thing for me is we've talked about the players that we've gone out, and when you sit back and you think about it sort of objectively, look at the crap that Darren Moore's actually had to deal with on a squad that he's rebuilt, on a side that he's had. He's had injuries here, there, and everywhere. We've talked about Luongo being a new player. We've talked about Byers coming back in. He's made a really bold decision allowing Wing to go. Whether or not we agree with Wing and the quality that Wing had, 2 weeks ago, Dela Bashiru goes off, and we're looking down the suspension thinking, Christ, who's coming in next?
Yeah,
and he's just gone. Enter George Byers. George Byers has come in, and it's like those three in the middle of the park. It's been
best midfielder in the league.
It's been 180 minutes, but you're absolutely right. We'd stand out there, and I work in a school on the border of Rotherham and Doncaster, and I've got a lot of Rotherham fans that I work with, and they're giving it this, that, and the other. And I'm walking into work Wednesday morning and today, and I'm thinking, I'm not bothered about Sunday, because whatever you're bringing, you ain't got a Byers, you ain't got a Luongo. If Bannon's firing on Sunday, our back three is going to handle anything that you've got. We've got the two best wing backs in the league at the minute. If we're firing Sunday, there's nothing to fear. I think, to answer your original question, I think
I said I tell you what, Stevie. There, you said. He said to answer your question, your microphone just died.
I think his next door neighbour's nicking his internet. I mean, I don't know who his next door neighbour is, but I think he's hooked into it.
Go on, Ben. Pick this up.
He'll carry on talking in a minute. He won't have a clue.
Yeah.
I tell you what. All right. So Ben, in terms of Darren Moore and people's opinion of him as the season's gone, I mean, bear in mind, he did make some odd choices, some odd decisions that we'd look at and go, what's he done that for? When it felt like every other Wednesday fan on Twitter specifically could see what the right decision was to be made. And then he would make something else. But then he seems to have made some big decisions like, Corbanu, like Lewis Wing. And these ones have paid off. Was it us that were wrong? Or has he just looked out on these two decisions?
Well, in hindsight, they've turned out a bit right decisions. I still think with the Corbanu one, it's not like he's gone to MK Dons and not done anything. He's still performing for MK Dons. We let a talented player go, but
do you feel that just because he didn't fit into the system?
Quite possibly, because we've stuck with playing two wing backs as such, and Corbanu would either go take up Marvin Johnson's place, which he's made that his own, or you were going to take up Jack Hunt on Nathaniel
Mendes Langs.
That one, his place, and Hunt and Mendes Lang have made that their own. And was Corbanu, for the quality that he brings to the side, was he going to fit in either of those two positions? No. So for the good of the side, he's probably done the right thing in hindsight, despite us losing what's clearly a talented player on wing. It was just one of them that never really worked out for us. I don't know how he started with Wigan first couple of games he's played, but he's not one that we're going to look at and think that we're missing, really, especially as we've said with the midfield three that we've got at the moment.
Was Wing a loan deal because there may have been an issue with Bannon leaving? He was our most. He was I mean, Bannon's obviously spoken a lot of times about committing himself to the club, but during that summer break, there was always the chance of somebody coming in and offering Chansiri a huge amount of money for Bannon, which in our financial situation, we wouldn't have turned down, despite the player wanting to stay. And I always felt that Wing was not too much like Bannon, but couldn't play alongside him.
Yeah, he was the one that we brought in that was, the most similar to Bannon that we brought in.
And maybe he was that. And in regards to Corbino, again, I think that Darren Moore likes the tried and tested players. And I think Corbino would give you that amazing amount of 10, 15 minutes where he was just awesome. But then there was times where if he didn't get the ball or it didn't go for him, he sort of he shrank into it, disappeared in the game. Mendes Lang gives you a lot more than that. He's so experienced.
Yeah, you feel like every time Nathaniel gets the ball,
you're
kind of like, he's going to do something here.
Yeah, he's got that experience.
I went with Nathaniel. I bet his mates call him Nate.
Gossip girl.
Yeah.
But the time, sorry to interrupt, but the time when he went, we were going through a really dog shit time, weren't we? So when he left, which was at the start of the window, we'd underperformed. Players had underperformed. Darren Moore made some very strange decisions of where he was playing players. Some of them were forced upon him. At the end of the day, mate, how can you go into the start of the season and then lose virtually every centre back to injury? It can't legislate for that. But then also as well, when he's playing players like Jayden Brown, who in my opinion isn't good enough, Shadipo wasn't playing in the positions he's played for before, and he was sticking with formations that at the time didn't seem to be working, because it was square pegs in round holes at some points. It's obvious that fans would turn, because that's what football fans do. Football fans, it's a result-driven business, isn't it? And you're only as good as your last game. We've had 4 wins, and we've got a team together now who are experienced. Look at that midfield. Look at the experience that's there. You look at Palms, Hutch. Really, the only sort of young lad there it is Jordan Story, isn't he? He's the one. And when you actually look at his CV, he's very experienced. So yeah,
he's been great as he's come in. Now, let's move on to the Wigan game, because I feel like when we try and do 2 games at a time, we're normally harping back. So let's move on to Wigan, Vic. I mean, This was for me a huge win. I think it's massive. Wigan have been playing really well. You know what I mean? What were they, second, first in the league, or they've got like about 6 games in hand, and one of them was against us, and we've beaten. Now, was it a penalty?
Yeah, without doubt.
It wasn't a strong one, but it was. I mean, it was stonewall. Like you can say, it was an absolute stonewall penalty. It was a foul. He legged him up. He fell over, but it wasn't like he, flattered him at middle of Meadow Hall, was it? So I just want to see you choke or you drink there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a penalty. I think regardless of that, we would have got a goal. I think we would have won that anyway. I think we played very well. Obviously, it's the second time that we've done them this year, which I think says a lot about us. We were talking before about, top teams in the league and beating them and proving a point against them. Well, we've done it twice now over them. Obviously, we've got this weekend coming up, and that's going to be a big one. But yeah, I was very, very pleased with that. I didn't go. I've got man flu at the moment, but I am negative. You feel like you're going to tell everyone that now, don't you? As soon as you see like, but I am negative. I'm negative. No one will care in a month. But yeah, so I watched it in my mind because obviously I don't live abroad. So I listened to it on wireless.
Oh yeah, is that what you did? Yeah,
I did. I did watch it, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
But I thought we were brilliant. I really thought we were. I thought they played up to us. I think we made them look shitty in a way that a lot of teams have made us look quite poor this year. Obviously, you look at the stats and it looks like a very even game. But I don't really agree that it was. I know it's like you can't argue with stats. Ash should be like again chewing his other arm now. You can't argue with stats, but I genuinely believe we outshone them. And I think again we've mentioned earlier about that midfield, and I think that for me, we were saying about your first players on your team sheet. For me, it would be like we've said, Hutch, Bannon, Byers, Luongo, and Nathaniel Mendez-Lang. For me, I think he's absolutely outstanding. How he didn't start, obviously, is keeping him fit, but yeah, outstanding.
That for me, that's what I was going to say to you, Ben. So literally one change. Mendez-Lang out, who's performed very well, as Vic rightly says, and Canberry coming in. Not exactly a Wednesday legend just yet.
I don't want to criticise him because I get that he works hard and the runs he makes can be intelligent now and again, but he's incredibly frustrating to watch.
It reminds me of Petter Rudy. I don't know why, because when he used to play for us back in the day, when you won't remember him, back when Snickers was Opal Fruits, back then, the Petter Rudy used to be able to place a lovely 10-yard pass, and he had such a vision. But for some reason, when he got in front of goal, he'd absolutely fall apart like a jigsaw in the box. And I feel like that there's an element of that with Canberry in there somewhere. Is somebody who really understands football, but he is frustrating to watch, isn't he?
Yeah, I think for me, it's not even in front of goal because that's not what he is. So that isn't something that I think he should be going on the score sheet more, because he's a supportive striker. He's not somebody that is going to get you 10 goals plus a season. He's never done that anywhere in his professional career. So that's not something I expect, but it's more holding the ball up in his first touch that
the stuff he's there for.
Sit there on cop and just curl up, basically.
Because he's one of them, isn't he? That's massive, and he jumps, and he's 4'6". I just can't understand how he misses every single header.
I think to sort of defend him is on Tuesday night was that they were good in the air at the back. They were strong. They were good in the air. You can see what they're set up to do. Long ball over the top, and I think the role of Pato and Canberry. I mean, Pato to the end was, I mean, he couldn't catch that cat because he could barely run. It was just basically closing them down and not letting them play from the back and not letting it launch forward. And you're right, he's not one of these guys, a Gregory sort of in the box and scoring. He's not one of those. I was a little bit, there was one point where the ball came over the top and I thought, this is a 50-50 this. And their centre-back just shrugged him off. And that peed me off a little bit because I thought, that's a 50-50 ball. But I think he had a job. He was given a job to close them down. He was given a job to run at them. He could have done better. It wasn't his best game. Definitely wasn't his best game. I don't think he's at that point now where anybody should start. He should start becoming one of the boo boys should get on his back, because I don't think that would do him any good whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't think
I think he shines against teams like Wigan. I think, don't get me wrong, I don't think he was the best player on the pitch by an absolute, by 10 men, to be honest. But I think against teams, it's a bit of a new Hugh situation where teams don't expect what they're going to get from him. They don't really know. And there might be the odd game that he pulls out a worldie goal, or there might be the odd game that he just runs about a bit, flinging his arms around. Yeah. And I think that's what you need to save him for. You need to save him for those sort of more skillful defending games, because I don't think you can match up to, like this massive oaf when you've got you've got defenders trying to play it across the back very casually. But obviously, bring back Gregory and Windass. But at the moment, they're quite happy up in my attic, and I think I want to keep them there for a little bit longer.
Yeah, to be fair.
I thought Patterson did all right on Tuesday night.
He did.
Probably in the top 3 performers.
They were given a role, weren't they, to close them down, press them all the time. I mean, that's what we did. We pressed and didn't let them play, and then we let the midfield do the work. And as soon as we played the ball on the ground and stopped lumping it over the top of them, they were crap. We've played football against them, and that led to the penalty. Luongo running into the box, a great ball into the box. It was a soft penalty, but it was definitely a penalty. And we cut them open several times when we played on the floor. So as Victoria, if Victoria will actually let the two Windass and Gregory out of her attic, if they'd been playing, it would have been a lot higher score.
I agree with you. I think you're right. I think Patterson did the job that Patterson is there to do, and I've got to have a special mention. Actually, I meant to mention it before, but listening to the commentators from iFollow from Burton, that guy, I loved him. I've never heard anybody so bored of commentating on Burton Albion in my life. And I think the best thing that ever happened in his life was that there was a 6'2" man with grey hair who professes to be 28 years old. And and he just absolutely loved it. Now, Stevie, welcome back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound beautiful, mate. You sound beautiful.
What have I missed?
We were waxing lyrical about the Wigan game, about the change in Canberra. So, we've done that. That's been ticked off. But what I want to talk about is the league table, as daft as it sounds. I know it's mental. We're still outside of the playoffs. And I find that if Sheffield Wednesday had not been picking up the points that they have, I mean, bear in mind, from the last 4 games, we've got 12 points. I had to do some quick maths there. We've got 12 points from the last 4 games, and it seems that everybody else around us is also picking up points. And do you not feel like the importance of those wins that we've had keep us in the fight, as it were?
Yeah, absolutely. The people are picking up points, and it's difficult, isn't it? Because with all the stoppages that we've had, there's that sort of imbalance between the games that have been played, and that whole thing the other week about the top 8 sort of league, if you like. Start with Vic talking about the fact that Wigan had so many games in hand.
Yeah,
I honestly believe that.
That's going to have a detrimental effect to them.
Yeah, even before, because they were still in the FA Cup, I think.
They've spiralled since I mentioned that. Shall I just start doing that every week?
Yeah, do it again.
Yeah.
It's about Rotherham.
I just think over the course of the season, it's going to balance itself out. And when you look at it, to go back to that point, where we do all right against the bigger teams. We've done all right against Sunderland at home. We've done all right against Wigan. We've taken 6 points off them. We've took points off Rotherham. I thought we were the better side against Wickham. So those teams that are in and around, I'm all right with, to be honest with you. It's the middling teams that, the teams at the bottom end of mid-table that I worry about. But the fact that, we're not a million miles off the top, is it? Forgive me, I've not looked at the league sort of standings. We're about 3-4 points off third.
I can tell you second. We are 4 points off a second. So as daft as it sounds, automatic promotion isn't completely off the table. I think, we have to be grown up, and we have to concede that Rotherham are absolutely shit in this league, because for some reason they're mint in League One and then forget how to play football when they get promoted.
I'll tell you why that is, because they've done it and they've done it 2-3 years now. So they know what they need to do. When they come down, they're with due respect to Rotherham, and I mean that in the most sincerest terms, they aren't us. They're not a Sheffield Wednesday, they're not a Wigan, they're not a Sunderland. You know, they're a 10,000 capacity stadium, and I mean that respectfully. They are what they are.
They don't have the expectation.
No. But they'll exactly. The League One, they'll piss it. They'll go up there and they're out the station. They are almost a very good League One +1 side, if you like. You know, they'll go up next year with the best will in the world. They're not going to finish any higher than 16th, 15th, 14th. That's them. They found that. You know, they found what they are. I'm sorry, and I know that's going to. If any Rotherham fans watch this, I'm going to get absolutely hammered for it. But that's how it is.
You remember when we played them away and there were all that other Barry Band, and that's going to be you now.
Yeah, you're gonna be the meme, Stevie.
I'm being I am. Yeah. I'm being respectful. I don't mean anything by it. I absolutely believe Rotherham are going to win the league, and fair play to him. I think Paul Warren's a great guy. You know, I live on the border, even though I'm classed as Sheffield, Rotherham. I live in Sheffield, but I'm classed as Rotherham. I don't have any sort of ill will towards the town, any ill will towards the club. Them whatsoever.
This is all getting cut off, Steve.
Stop, Steve. Stop. Enough.
Rotherham right now.
He disappears and then comes back and becomes a meme.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I can't be arsed with him. I cannot be arsed with him.
It's not a derby. It's not a derby.
It's not a derby, right? And I've had so many. I just threw that grenade this afternoon and then went into a meeting, and I came back to all these
South Yorkshire derby.
It's a derby. It's a derby. It's right near. No, it's not. It's not a derby.
It's the trouble. The thing is, all I want is not to lose to them. I mean,
that's all they're getting from me.
We're the same. We're the same in regards to Sheffield, but we're actually classed as Rotherham, living where we live. And I've had Rotherham fans at work going, "We're going to hammer you. We're going to hammer you at the weekend. We're going to hammer you." And you know what? And they call us the pigs. You know, and I know, and they we call them, myself and my son call them the mini pigs because of their affinity with Sheffield United. But
exactly, Rotherham and Sheffield United are like Torville and bloody Dean, and it's just embarrassing. It's grown adults just sat there going, "Oh, we ate Wednesday. Oh, so do we. Oh."
I think we have that as well with some other clubs. I find it really weird because I think that we dislike Derby, but we kind of get on with Forest. Do you know what I mean?
I don't give a shit about either.
And they ate Sheffield United as well. Like, you know, it's a whole thing. But I called it this at the early part of the season when we played them last time. It's a League One fixture with our local neighbours that, to be fair, aren't our local neighbours. And we called it, and the name of the episode was El Crapico. Yeah. So this one now is El Crapico 2.0. It's one of those fixtures that, like, if we lost 1-0, it'd be like losing 1-0 to Ipswich or Portsmouth. Like, you know what I mean? It's just another game to us.
They're chuffing honours board though, weren't it? And it's just like, just get over it.
Yeah, it is. There is some pride there because of certain team blowing themselves up to be bigger than what they actually are. But for us as a team, it's got more important value. We need to get 3 points because if we stay on the run that we're on, then I can see us Wigan starting to fall to one side because they weren't all that on Tuesday night.
I think fatigue is going to slow that Wigan down.
And we've got a team with players coming back, you know, where if we go on a run and with that midfielder we've got at the moment, you know, we could sneak in and get second place.
And do you know what? Even if we did, Simon, this is going to sound mental. If we snuck in and got second place, me as a Sheffield Wednesday fan in League One, I'd be going, too right and all, we got bloody second place. We shouldn't have been out of the playoffs as long as we were. Do you know what I mean? There's an expectation from me because I don't think personally, after it's all said and done, right when we get to May and we get playoffs, I'm going to be like, I didn't want playoffs. It's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like,
when you said about other teams picking points up as well as us recently, they haven't been a lot of them.
It's not the ones above us; it's the ones around us. You know, your Plymouth, Ipswich, Bolton. They seem to be picking points up, and it's like we can't leave them behind.
Yeah,
we can't seem to pull away.
it's Oxford really that have gone that good run, which has really kept us out at playoffs. Everyone else has been dragged back into it.
They lost Tuesday, didn't they, Ben?
Yeah,
Did they lose
did,
Tuesday?
Except Rotherham are that few points above Wigan. Other than that, even if we beat Rotherham on the weekend, we could catch them.
On you lot, a few wins, and you're acting like absolute morons. Come on,
no,
you were shite 2 weeks ago.
Listen, I tell you what. All right, let's discuss it in a proper way then. So Vic, you've got Rotherham here, who are 9 points clear of Wigan, who've played three. They played 3 more games than Wigan. They're at the top of the league. They're piss in this league. They're very good at League One. Have you got any concerns about Saturday at all?
Yeah, of course I have. I don't want to lose, but I don't want to lose 3 points. I couldn't give a shit if it's Rotherham or not. I literally do not care. I don't understand why we even give them the time of day. For me, it's just a match. It's just a match that's coming up Sunday afternoon. Like, my mate's coming from Rotherham. I'll save her a parking spot. That's it. It's nice when you've got friends in away stand. I'm sure Ben will, because Ben is literally in Rotherham. Whereas you two claim to not be, but you are.
Well, I tell you what, it's actually interesting that as well. And my apologies for picking up on this. Please, please hear where the humour lies. But somebody found out my personal license on the wall in the office, and somebody looked at it and went, "Are you from Rotherham?" And I go, "I am." But I tell people I'm from Sheffield, cost taxi drivers. Do you know what I mean? I can't walk around going, "Hey, Rotherham guy." You know what I mean? But then Steve, like you say, you're on the cusp of Rotherham and Doncaster. You're on the, you know what I mean? You must have a lot of Rotherham fans. You're with every day.
I work on the cusp of Rotherham and Doncaster. I live on the bottom of Handsworth, just by Ironbridge.
You're on Orgreave.
Orgreave.
Yeah, Orgreave, yeah.
So I'm not moving that way. I am classed as Rotherham. The local schools, as a crow flies, it's Handsworth. The catchment is Aston and Brinsworth, I think it is.
Rotherham's nice. The bit that Ben's from.
Listen. I've got no issue with it. But to your point, Vic, I think it's a very, very big game for them. For me, it's just another. And the only reason that we're having this conversation, you can qualify whether or not it's a derby. It is a derby in a sense. It's South Yorkshire, but that's like saying Bradford's a derby because it's Yorkshire.
It's an important game that we need 3 points from. We need the 3 points.
For me, it's Sheffield Wednesday playing the top of the league and a league that we want to get out of.
And if we beat top of the league are the team that are running away with it as well. It's not as if they're like just at the top of the league. If we can beat them,
if we beat the top of the league in the last 5 days, we'll have beaten top, we'll have beaten second.
Exactly.
We'll have kept, we'll have won 5 on the bounce. All being well, if we keep a clean sheet, that's 5 clean sheets on the bounce. That's a statement. It is.
It is. I agree.
We don't want to run before we can walk. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But at the end of the day, if somebody had said, and we talked about it, I think we said 9 points would be phenomenal. 7 points or whatever, it would be decent. 5 points would be acceptable. At the minute, we've got 6 out of those games. Anything that we can get on Sunday is an absolute bonus from where we are. We just don't want to kill that momentum.
Yeah.
If we win, we win. That's brilliant. If we lose, let's avoid Parkgate because there'll be an open top bus for about next 2 weeks.
I'll tell you what then. Let's go to predictions in just a second. Vic, can you tell us, give us a quick, brief feline update?
Oh, Topsy. So there was a cat that went on pitch the other night, right? And I'm sat listening to it on the radio legally. And I thought, that sounds like a cat that I see quite regularly on my road.
Sounds like you're getting away with it, Vic. Keep going.
I don't know, I'm doing this right. Anyway, I saw a picture on Twitter of this cat, and I thought, that I know that cat. I always talk to that cat. It's right cute. It looks like a kitten, but it's definitely an old cat. And anyway, as it ran across and that, I thought, yeah, it is. And it would make sense because, I can see North Stand from my attic window, sorry. And so I thought, yeah, it probably is like a neighbour's cat or whatever. And it turns out that it's not. It's a cat that escaped nearly a year ago from a cattery nearby on Laurel and has been missing ever since. And now his owner has found him, Topsy, She's been missing all this time. She's obviously like, I've been talking to the owner because I was like, I can assure you she's been looked after, because like all my neighbours on our group chat were like, we know that cat. I know who that is. And yeah, so they scanned her after the match and found her owner, and her owner's obviously buzzing because this cat's been missing for a year. I've spoken to her owner tonight, because I've just been saying, like, just to reassure her, really, like, your cat's been fine, like, she's quite happy. And she has got a fracture in her neck, but she's on a drip. She's on painkillers on a drip. She's got a bite on her neck and a fracture, but it looks like she's going to be all right. So how cute is that? This cat's like 10 and been missing.
What an
for a
absolute
year.
mental story that is.
It's
You know what I mean?
so
It's this
sweet.
lost
Do you know
cat.
what? I'm also really, really glad that it's not some knobhead that's let a cat loose on a football pitch in protest as to recent events.
More out. Here's a
Yeah.
cat. You know what I mean?
No, I mean,
Steve
it's at
Bruce,
West
he
Ham
gets
stuff.
cabbages.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
But
It
it
was-
was just so cute. And
It was
it's
the
got
best
so much
timing.
press.
It was the best timing as well, wasn't it, of events happening elsewhere. And wasn't it great as the Wigan player handed it to our goalkeeping coach? He waved at it. He waved.
Oh my God.
Right, just a little, see you, pal.
It's fine.
So cute. I just keep thinking, like, if it was one of my, oh no, because there's any way I say this, he's going to get misconstrued. If it was one of my bunnies that escaped my house and ran onto the pitch, like, one of my buddies is absolutely enormous. Like, they wouldn't have been able to catch it between two of them. So I'm going to try that in future. But if I'd have said my rabbits,
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
you-
that's
you
it.
know,
Now I
you
get
know.
what you're saying. Yeah, I get it. Still, even bunnies is still quite funny. I could probably make a gag out of that. Give me 5 minutes. Simon, give me a prediction for Rotherham United. We're playing top of the league. They're 9 points clear. What do you think?
2-1 Wednesday.
2-1 Wendy. What about you, Ben?
1-0 to us.
Okay. Vic?
2 on Wednesday.
Ooh, tell you what, we're all going Wednesday. Go on, Steve. These have all lost their mind.
0-0.
You don't know?
0-0.
Oh, 0-0. I think it's going to be either 0-0 or we're going to get spanked 3-0. I think we're going to get cocky buggered, and I think they're going to absolutely do us like what happened with Sunderland. I think it's just going to be absolute smash and grab, and we're going to go, what the fuck happened there? You know what I mean? Or it's going to be a tight affair.
You see,
To be fair, sorry, Ben. I was going to say, to be fair, a couple of the lads at work and a couple of ladies as well, they know they are, have sort of said that Rotherham aren't in the best form at the minute and they're grinding out results, and they're, whilst they're giving it that one and saying they're all confident and whatnot, at the same time, I don't think Rotherham's performances are, I think they're grinding out results. You know what I mean? I don't think they're flying. They're doing what they need to do. And that goes to the point that we were talking about earlier. They know what they need to do to get out of this league.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to, the worry of them coming in and beating us 4-5-0 or whatever, that's gone. We'll win, draw, lose, but at the end of the day,
I think the team that we've got now are drastically different to the team that played Sunderland. I think our midfield is far better. Our back 3-4 are far better. I think Hutch is just immense at the moment. I think, and I believe that they struggled a bit against Accrington, didn't they, at the weekend? And then they got a penalty. Accrington got a penalty, and then the fan ran on the pitch, kicked the ball away, and then they missed the penalty, which is must have been gutting for Accrington. So I don't think it will be like that, but they might get that fluky 1-0. I don't know.
I don't really feel worried. I think there was something about the Wigan game and after it, the reaction to winning it, that I've not really felt like that for a few years about Wednesday. It felt, without getting ahead of myself, it felt like the feeling we had 10 years ago with that side that got us up. There were more of a togetherness that I've not seen for years.
I think the video that the club released of Palmer and Hutch naming their mates and who they've played with, I thought that was great content. And I really liked the nicknames they gave each other. I really liked the banter that you had between each other. And it really did kind of hit home that these guys actually like each other. Do you know what I mean? And we've spoken 1,000 times about Bannon being comfortable with the people around him and how he plays when he's got it. And I think there is that. There's a good feeling around Hillsborough at the minute, which is weird because a month ago, I literally on this show said, fuck him, we need to sack him and get somebody else in. You know what I mean? But if you look at Rotherham's results, I think out of the last 9 games, they've not scored more than 1 goal. But I mean, they battered Doncaster something like 5-0. But the last 2 games they've won 1-0, and then if you go back to January, it's 1 against Cambridge, 1 against Cheltenham. You know what I mean? 1 against QPR in the cup. So they're not big scorers. And if we've got Hutchinson playing like he has been the last few weeks, I don't see them as a threat. However, like every game we play in this league, we're their cup final, and because of the close proximity geographically, not a derby, there's an element that they want it more, and we have to rise above that, like we have to do every single game, because we are the biggest team in this league. We're up there with Sunderland, and we're up there with some people would even argue Pompey and Ipswich, and even Bolton. We are a big cup final for a lot of these clubs, and I'll be surprised if they score more than 1, if I'm honest. Does anybody have any other business?
Just one bonus for Sunday is that they've not got Will Grigg.
He is not a Flame and hasn't been for about 7 years, but we're still sing the song.
Is extinguished.
He got stretched off recently, yes?
Mm-hmm. I think it was their last game, wasn't it? He got stretched off. They brought a sub on, begins with a K, can't remember his surname, and he scored like literally as he came on the pitch. So it's not all rainbows, is it? But it's just, when there's just a player that's got a name, they always score against us, don't they? It's like when we used to have 1,000,001 bloody Amiobis around the leagues. They always scored against us. Like, it's just something that happens. And Will Grigg's just one of them names that you just think.
Billy Sharp. He's who's the other lad? I can't remember.
Jordan Rhodes.
Yeah, yeah.
Kevin Phillips. He always scored
yeah,
against us.
Yeah,
My
Kevin Phillips
God.
always used. Anybody who used to play for us, basically.
Well, them and all. Yeah. They I mean, Sam Winnell scoring against us. You have to do that, don't you? Apparently, that's the thing. All right. Well, listen, Steve, can you remind us once again about the charity fundraising efforts that you're doing? And you're going to be a lucky bugger once again. Have we had any more players named?
No players named as yet. It's early days, but thank you for allowing me to do this. 7th of May, I'm stepping out again for Sheffield Wednesday, or representing Sheffield Wednesday Legends team. Last year I played alongside Des Walker. Walked out with Wallace, Whelan and Waddle. Tubgay played. It's all the cause for a Doncaster based charity that is very close to my heart. Know the guys really well. Have been lucky enough to make the selection, or been selected for the process this year. And I'm going to be looking to sell tickets. Check my Twitter profile if you like. I've moved it back to Spendog as well. By the way.
You're back to Spendog Billionaire? Or you just Spendogs?
Spendog 5.
Lovely.
Check me out on @Spendog 5. You'll see my tweet is pinned. It's got a link to my fundraising page. The more money I raise, the more likely I am to start the game. Means a real lot. If anybody's intending on going, if you come to me and buy tickets through me, that goes on my page. It means I'm more likely to start.
Yes,
it means that
yes, 10%.
I'm really looking forward to doing it again. I am knocking on a bit now. I'm hoping to be injury free, and if I am able to step up and do all right this year and raise a shit ton of money and play pain free, I think I'll finally be hanging the boots up this season. So
I don't think I've ever been to a football match and openly booed a player as loud as we 3 booed you last year.
Thanks, guys. I love you.
No, but in all seriousness, Ben and Siren, like, I know we were like post lockdown and everything, weren't we? And well, we were in the midst of lockdown and we were just about allowed out. And I remember walking in, and it's a memory that I think will stick with me for a long time, because we've been so far removed from football for so long.
Yeah, it was a great day.
As we were walking up the steps, they started playing Hi Ho Silver Lining, and we all like looked at each other and went.
It was a great day, and what was even better was we were talking to Steve after the game, and the groupies who wanted his autograph were absolutely
thought he was,
and I'm not sure to this day who they thought he was. Maybe just they knew it was Mr. Spence. Maybe it was just
I've taught half a Doncaster.
He was kind of talking to you. Then we were like, yeah, sorry, mate. And like moved out. It was like Waynesville playing hockey in the road. We're like, sorry, yeah.
But also as well, I felt dead proud because I'm like, I'm Steve's friend and all these people want his autographs. So I'm his mate. I was a right hanger on it.
It was a really good day out though, wasn't it? I mean, COVID or not, like we just had a great time. We were in that pub before, we had some nice food and then trotted over and it was lovely.
Yeah, I think last year there was the attendance last year was 3,000 with COVID restrictions. Dare I say it, I think they're looking at least 5 this year. So for me to be able to step out, as I said, we've not confirmed, it's early days yet. I don't know who the players that are going to be involved are going to be. But if I can step out in front of 5,000 players wearing a Wednesday shirt in between a couple of legends that we talk about and have talked about, and maybe 1 or 2 of them have been mentioned on that 1 to 11, it mean the world to me. So if you're inclined to either donate, sponsor, please get in touch. Drop me.
What date is that again, Steve?
The 7th of May.
Oh, I'm literally in Miami.
Of course you are. You always have to be one better than me, don't you?
Yeah, make sure you send me some pictures. I'm going to the Miami. I'm going to the Miami F1. So you have a lovely time.
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still lift heavier than you in the gym.
Right, I will
Simon,
fight
you get to spend the day in Doncaster with me. Would you rather be in Miami or with me and Ben at Toby Carvery round corner from Donny Rover's ground?
Sorry, Vic. I'll be going to Miami. Apologies. Although I'm not there either because I'm in Portugal. I'm in Portugal, I'm afraid.
Wait. Do you set 7th of May?
Go on.
Oh, God.
Where are you?
You tell me you're missing, I'm out.
Yeah, I've got. I've got a competition. I think that day.
So if you just want to see Ash and Steve on their own with Vic in Doncaster.
I'll tag on with Ash and his wife this year. They were separate to us last year because we had to sit in bubbles, didn't we?
Right. Oh yeah, lads, listen, and Vic, listen, guys. We'll get some pitch side interviews. We'll get some fucking content for the pod. Blah blah blah. Nobody's turning up.
I'll be there, Stevie. Don't you worry.
Bring your muff, Vic.
I'll bring my muff.
Where is it? It's not on your shelf.
Do you know what? I don't know.
And a bunny.
Vic's loft the muff. Anyway, listen, thanks a lot for staying with us this evening, ladies and gents. Up the Wendy coming up against the Millers. Vic's found a muff, so we're all right. Thanks a lot for staying with us, and I'll see you all later.
The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.